and I'll quickly run through them. And while I'm doing this, I'd like us to pay attention and try to introspect and see which one actually applies to us. Because I know we have a lot of married people here, but then we are all learning at the end of the day. Okay, so we have the passive communication. Now, passive communicators often avoid expressing their thoughts, their feelings, or their needs because they fear conflict, rejection, or disappointing others. So a thumbs up or something, any emoji, beautiful, thank you. Okay, so I was talking about the passive communicators. So they avoid confrontation. They find it difficult to say no. Now, these are the people that even when things are not comfortable for them, because they don't want to hurt the other person, they would rather just be okay with it. They'll say, okay, it's fine. Meanwhile, deep down, it's actually not fine. Thank you. Now, these passive communicators too prioritizes the need of others while neglecting their own needs. They tend to suppress their own feelings just because they would rather please the other person. And then most of the time you see them agreeing outwardly, but then they feel dissatisfied inwardly. For example, we have a couple. I like to use Tunde and Ada. Now, Tunde is the husband, Ada is the wife. Okay, so we have Tunde asking Ada where she would like them to celebrate their anniversary. And Ada is like, oh, anywhere is fine. And then they end up at the restaurant Tunde actually loves, but Ada spends the evening feeling very disappointed because she was actually hoping they would go to a different place. And then when Tunde later asks if everything is okay, she still says it's okay. But deep inside, she feels unheard. Now, passive communication may create temporary peace, but it often leads to long-term resentment because you are not expressing yourself. Your partner doesn't know what you truly want. And at the end of the day, you are both not satisfied. Your partner doesn't satisfy you. You are not satisfied yourself. So how does the passive communication affect relationship? I already shared a few. The other partner is forced to guess what they are thinking. So because they are not talking much, your partner has to do a lot of thinking for you, wondering what you would need, trying to observe you to know what you like, because you are not actually talking. Then another impact is that their needs of this passive communicator remains unmet because they are never communicated. Most of the time, passive communicators expect their partners to be able to know what they want. You know, some of them say things like, if he loves me or if she loves me, they should be able to know what I need. I shouldn't have to say everything I need all the time. But like I always like to say, love is not mind reading. If you want something, then you should be able to express it. And like I mentioned earlier, this leads to resentment over time. And then we have the aggressive communicator. Now, aggressive communicators express themselves in ways that ignore or violate the rights and feelings of others. Now, usually their goal is to win the argument. They are usually the loudest around. So rather than solve the problem, they are more focused on being right than resolving whatever they're talking about. So some of their characteristics involve raising their voice. They have a very loud voice. I always say, like my voice, I have a very loud voice. I believe I used to be an aggressive communicator before I knew this. I'm still working towards where everybody should be, and we are going to get there very soon. Okay, so they have the tendency to raise their voice because there's that need to dominate the conversation. Then they also have the tendency to interrupt others while they are speaking. They are never patient enough to listen to what the other person is saying. Instead, they always feel the need to interject every now and then. And then they tend to use blame or criticism. They are the one that will always say, no, you should have done this. Why didn't you do this? So they have the tendency to make accusations, and then they have this controlling tone or threatening language. Now, this is actually a very common communication style. So you see them, instead of saying something like, I felt disappointed that you forgot to call, you hear them saying something like, you never think about anyone except yourself. You always disappoint me. So you see them, they are attacking the other person. Now, for aggressive communication, they also have impacts on the relationship. One of them is the fact that talking aggressively creates fear instead of emotional safety. So most of the time, your partner is scared around you, and that naturally damages the trust in the relationship because you don't feel very safe around. And then eventually the partners become defensive because the partner, that's the aggressive communicator, is always accusing. So naturally they have the tendency to, in fact, they're on the defense all the time, ready for the next explanation because they can already sense another accusation coming. And then aggressive communication discourages honest conversations, and then it makes it difficult to have easy discussions. So even simple disagreements become battles because of the way they speak. And then we have the passive aggressive communicators. Now, these ones are in between the passive and the aggressive communicators. They also feel inhibited in expressing themselves. So instead, they communicate their anger indirectly through sarcasm, withdrawal, procrastination, silent treatment, or subtle acts of revenge. I don't know, you must be familiar with some partners. If the wife should do something they don't like, they would rather say they are not eating that day because they feel not eating would tell their partner that they are really hot. So they want to do something that hurts their partner back. So you see them doing something like that, avoiding something they know would ordinarily make their partner happy. So some of the characteristics of passive aggressive communication is they tend to say nothing is wrong when something clearly is. They use sarcasm to express anger. They give the silent treatment, and this is a major problem in a lot of marriages. Yes, so when there's a problem, instead of saying, hey, this is something that hurts me, let's try to resolve. They go for days without talking to their partner. Not one day, sometimes a week without talking to their partner. Okay, then these people tend to avoid difficult conversations. Okay, so once they feel maybe there's something to talk about that has to do with their behavior or their partner's behavior, the marriage, the relationship itself, they begin to avoid it because they are not comfortable talking about things that feel difficult. Yeah, and then they tend to express resentment indirectly. These are the set of people that cannot tell their partner that something is wrong. But maybe when there's a third party, they are quick to table the matter and they begin to talk about it carelessly. Yeah, I'm sure we have people who have experienced that in the house too. Now, how does this impact the relationship? One, the partner is confused because you keep sending mixed messages. Then there's increased frustration because the partner is not even sure what is really going on. You as the person, you are also not happy because things are not resolved. Then of course, there's unresolved conflicts and emotional exhaustion. When issues are not resolved, both parties feel it, and it can become really, really stressful on the relationship.